Peace, 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 peace. It's your brother Mufti A. Wright Bey, and we back again for another installment of the BBT Holi Dey book reading. And in May, in the month of May, by Allah's grace, we have a series that is centered around the subconscious mind. So all about how we think and what our thoughts do for us and how they may enhance our life if we are mindful of how to utilize our subconscious mind, as well as those thoughts that we come into contact with on a daily basis, and how some of the times when we harbor certain things, as we go through this series, we'll start to see by the Spirit that things will become a stumbling block for us should we not learn how to adequately utilize and enhance our thoughts. Islam. So I'm excited. I'm overjoyed that you took out time to just join us and honor us with your presence on this Holi Dey book reading. And I know your time is valuable, so we won't waste it. And as I say, and as I begin, listen, we can't have unity without you and I. And you come first. And it's a pleasure that you joined us on this day. And you didn't stumble upon this video by accident. So let's go. Tonight, we will be venturing into a reading titled As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Very classical piece, but we're not going to move too fast to walk through it. And sit back, get whatever beverage or thing to make you comfortable as you relax under the sound of my voice, and let's go. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. BBT Holi Dey book reading. Let's go.
I'm a spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seeds sowing, harvest reaping, man of meager means. I have yet to leave, I'm still breathing. To quit, I have no reason. I mean, I'm asleep, but I be trying to live my dreams. I cannot even act if it's all easy. Either you gon' do it or you don't. Really, it ain't no in between. Baby, you can ask the sun, it's an everyday thing. Consistency in your routine is how you bring reality. Working like a slave, that's how I made this masterpiece. Living like a god, I lay at night, I rest in peace. They remember me, but I am not Haram
Peace. Let's jump right into it. Boom. Throw it right on stage. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And for some of us who may have never heard of this topic in literature, do some background research on James Allen. There's also a version of this called As a Woman Thinketh as well, right? Slightly changing the language, but the same substance. Islam. So let's jump down a little bit in this and let's see what we got here. We're gonna see what we're doing. So let's read some of the forward here, right? So what this author, Mr. Allen, has for us. It says, this little volume, the result of meditation and experience, is not intended as an exhaustive treatise on the much written upon subject of the power of thought. It is suggestive rather than explanatory. Its object being to stimulate men and women to discover and perception of the truth that they themselves are makers of themselves. I will repeat that, right? In this writing, we are to expand upon the object being that to stimulate man and woman to the discovery and perception of the truth that they themselves are makers of themselves by virtue of the thoughts which they choose and encourage that mind is the master weaver, both of the inner garment of character and the outer garment of circumstance, and that as they may have it hitherto woven in ignorance and pain, they may now weave in enlightenment and happiness. Come on, Brother Allen, let's scroll up. Let's scroll up. Let's jump into this thought and character. I want us to relax, and may the Holy Spirit lead and guide our steps as we delve into these words, and may they find a firm resting place in your spirit, so that way you then begin to bring things back to your remembrance, and we can build. Islam, thought and character. The aphorism, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, not only embraces the whole of man's being, but it is also comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every act of man springs from the hidden seeds of thought and could not have appeared without them. This applies equally to those acts called spontaneity or spontaneous and unpremeditated, as to those which are deliberately executed. So as the writer brings out the illustration of a seed of thought, it brought me back to the Morris Holy Quran, when we speak about that that every seed, right, is has the potencies or the potentiality of their father or the creator of that seed. So that seed has every especial quality, right, of that which produced it. So when we think of seeds of thought, right, we got to be careful now what we create these thoughts of, right, because they were, as we will see, are planted deep within our mind to take root and to grow. Islam, as the writer writes on, it says, as these thoughts act is the blossom of thought. So action is the blossom of thought, meaning that once we think a thing, right, it don't become real, right? Watch this, until we put it into action. But that action is what? Derived from a thought. So what we see transpiring in our lives and other lives, other people's lives, even in the world, it must have first started as a thought. Act is the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. And we know that husbandry is the tiller of the field, dealing with the agriculture. Islam, what are you planting? Thought in the midst, or thought in the mind, hath made us. We are by thought, we wrought and build. If a man's mind hath evil thoughts, pain comes on him, as comes the will, the ox behind. If one endure in purity of thought, joy follows him or her as his own shadow sure. Which is a poetry, like eloquently giving us a pictorial of good thinking, right, versus poor thinking, right? So as man is a growth by law and not a creation by artifice, and cause and effect is absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought, as in the world of visible and material things. A noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural result of continued effort and right thinking, the effect of long cherished association with God-like thoughts. An ignoble and bestial character, by the same process, is the result of the continued harboring of groveling thoughts, right? So we have that yin and yang going on. Man is made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he what? Descends below the level of the beast. Between these two extremes are all the grades of character, and man is their maker and master. So watch this. Between these two extremes, what? Our higher and lower selves, or our higher and lower natures, right? Man, being the maker, right, of his destiny, is the master of these realms when it comes to thought, if he is mindful. Watch this, of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul, which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening or fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this. What is that? That man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. Wait a minute. So if man is the master of thought, then one would have to think about the conditions of life and really contemplate, why are they appearing so haphazardly, right? And many of our lives in these conditions are not getting better or worse. Could it be that our thoughts and the way we manifest them aren't getting better? And that is the root cause of what we see on our external world, is of our internal disposition, our internal struggle with ourselves and with our thought patterns. Islam, as a being of power, watch this, intelligence and love, and the Lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation and contains within himself that transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. Aya Asha Aya. I will be what I will to be, right? Man is always the master, even in the weakest and most abandoned state. I'm going to say that again. Somebody needed to hear that. Man is always the master, even in his weakened and most abandoned state. But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his conditions and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master, directing his energies with intelligence and fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues. Such is the conscious master, and man can only thus become by discovering what? Within himself, the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, and experience. So here we see the writer bringing up the fact and the matter of the activity that goes on in our daily life or within the sphere of our influence, right? So really explaining that man is always the master. Sometimes as we go through life, some of us become disillusioned, right, as you will, and taking on an imposter syndrome, right? Some of us are familiar with that, where the writer reminds us that man is always the master. Like, don't be fooled. Even in his weakest and most abandoned state, right? Where we isolate ourselves away from everyone in a certain dilemma, right? Creating an island unto ourselves, right? Even in that weakened state, watch this, in degradation, he is the foolish master. Watch this, who misgoverns his household. Come on. This is good. When he begins to reflect, watch this, upon his condition, and then what? To search diligently for the law upon which his being is established. What? You were created in the image and likeness of God. You are more than a creator. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. When we start to now what? Watch that. Go back into that law upon which we was established, right? Then he becomes what? The wise master, directing his energies with intelligence, and fashioning his thoughts to what? Fruitful issues. Come on. I'm gonna skip down. Only by much searching, I want you to hear that. Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained. That takes me back to the Moorish Holy Quran again, chapter 13. When Yahshua spoke a parable to the farmer when he was digging and tilling the soil in a scanty way, right? He said, wait a minute, there's gold right below the surface. Come on now. What the writer is impending upon us is that we are the masters of our fate, and that it begins in the thought process where we outline the way for our lives, right? But only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained. A man can find every truth connected with his being if, watch this, he will dig deep into the mine of his soul, and that he is a maker of his character. Come on. The molder of his life and the builder of his destiny. He or she may unerringly prove if he or she will watch, control, and alter their thoughts, tracing their effects upon him or herself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, and utilizing every experience. Watch that. Utilizing every experience, even to the most trivial everyday occurrence, as a means of obtaining the knowledge of himself, which is understanding. Come on, selfology, wisdom, power in this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute that he or she that seeketh will find it, and to him that knocketh it shall be open. For only patience, practice, and ceaseless importunity can a man enter the door of the temple of knowledge. Let's go. Come on, we working with good time. We're going to continue moving forward with the next section that's entitled Effect of Thought on Circumstances. Now, I want you to reevaluate these things for us who think less and really don't consider what we bring into our thought mechanism, if you will, which is our brain, our mind, right? And think that there may not be things there to harm us if we're not mindful. There are. A man's mind may be linked or likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may a man tend the garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impure thoughts, and cultivating toward perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man or woman sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul, the director of his fate or life. He also reveals within himself the laws of thought and understanding with ever increasing accuracy, how the thought forces and mind elements operate in the shaping of his character, circumstances, and destiny. Thought and character are one. Thought and character are one. Thought and character are one. And as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his or her inner state. What does this mean? This does not mean that a man's circumstance at any given time are an indication of his entire character, but that those circumstances are so intimately connected with some vital thought element within himself that for the time being, they are indispensable to his development. Every man is where he is by the law of his being. The thoughts which he has built into his character have brought him there. And in the arrangement of his life, there is no element of chance, but all is the result of law, which we know law governs all events, which cannot err. This is just as true of those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as of those who are contented with them. As the progressive and evolving being, man is where he is, that he may learn, that he may grow. And as he learns the spiritual lesson, which any circumstance contains for him, it passes away and gives place to other circumstances. I can pause right here and just reiterate the pictorial where we even go into scripture and we can bring up the parable of the prodigal son, where the experience that he had in receiving his inheritance faster, if you will, by demanding that he get it. And as the parable moves forward, he goes out and lives, let's say, a riotous life, right? But in doing so, the experiences that he faced in living that riotous life brought him back to his thoughts. For one day he thought to himself, as he was eating slop with the pigs, as the parable goes on, he thought to himself that in his father's house, watch this, the servants eat better than this, right? So that experience brought him back to his own thinking, right? And this is what the experience of life does to shape our character, or watch this, shape our thinking, right? Man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be the center of outside conditions, or watch this, as long as he believes himself to be the creature of outside conditions, right? So, but when he realizes, watch that, when we realize that we are, watch this, a creative power, and that we may command the hidden soil and seeds of our being out of which circumstances grow. Then, watch this, we become the rightful master of self. That circumstances grow out of thought. Every man knows who has for any length of time practiced self-control and self-purification for he will have noticed that the alteration in his circumstances have been in exact ratio with his altered mental condition. What do you mean? So true is it that when a man earnestly applies himself to remedy the defects in his character and makes swift and marked progress, he passes rapidly through a succession of vicissitudes. Meaning what? Experiences. Those things that you make up in your mind, like, you know what? I'm gonna do right. I'm gonna make amends. I'm gonna fix something that was wrong, or all of these things. Soon as we make up that thought in our mind to move out on, right? Then we watch this. Experiences start to line up right away. Right away after that. So watch this. So that thought can what? Manifest itself out in actuality or in the outer world, right? As it came from the inner man. Then now, okay, you made up your mind to do this, that, and third. Now, how it works, you're going to be placed in specific circumstances, right? To what? Formulate that thought, to substantiate it, watch, and to bring it out into action. Right? Watch this. The soul attracts that which is secretly harbors. We're getting into the subconscious here. Watch this. It says the soul attracts that which it secretly harbors, that which it loves, and also that which it fears. It reaches the height of its cherished aspirations. It falls to the level of its unchastened desires, and circumstances are the means by which the soil receives its own, right? So this made me go back to the scripture where we talk about that God hasn't given us the having given us a power. I'm paraphrasing it, right? God hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So when it comes to you like that, you know that. Listen, this is why we read. This is why we study, because the Holy Spirit will start bringing stuff back up. So when you hear one word, oh yes, that's that. And that's how we connect the dots. Ping pings, things start going off in your hippocampus, and this is why the love and the journey to a knowledge of self is paramount, because we have all what we need within us. We were endowed with it by our Creator. So it really, all the answer lies within Islam. Every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there, watch this, produces its own. I'm going to say that again. Every thought seed or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there produces its own, blossoming sooner or later into what? An action, and bearing its own fruitage of opportunities and circumstances. God's thoughts bear good fruit. Bad thoughts, bad fruit, right? Watch this. The outer world of circumstances shapes itself to the inner world of thought. As above, so below, as within, so without. The outer world of circumstance shapes itself to the inner world of thought. And both pleasant and unpleasant external conditions are factors which make for the ultimate goal of the individual. As the reaper of his own harvest, man or woman learns both by suffering and by bliss. Come on, let's read some more. Following the inmost desires, aspirations, thoughts by which he allows himself to be dominated, pursuing the the wisp of impure imagining, and steadfastly walking the highway of strong and high endeavor, a man at last arrives at their fruition and fulfillment in the outer condition of his life. Right? The laws of growth and adjustment are everywhere obtained. A man does not come to the almshouse or to the jail by the tyranny of fate or circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desires. Nor does a pure-minded man fall suddenly into crime by stress of any mere external force. The criminal thought had long been scarcely fostered in the heart, and the hour of opportunity revealed its gathered power. Circumstances does not make the man. It's revealed him to himself. No such conditions can exist as descending into vice and its attendant sufferings apart from vicious inclinations, or ascending into virtue and its pure happiness without the continued cultivation of virtuous aspirations. And man, therefore, as the Lord and master of thought, is the maker of himself, the shaper and author of environment. Even at birth, the soul comes to its own, and thought, and through every step of its earthly pilgrimage, it attracts those combinations of conditions which reveal itself, which are the reflections of its own purity, and in purity, its strengths and weaknesses. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Woo, that'll preach. I'm gonna say that again. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Their whims, fancies, and ambitions are thwarted every step, but their inmost thoughts and desires are fed with their own food, be it foul or clean. The divinity that shapes our ends is in ourselves, but it is our very self. Man is, watch this, man is manacled by himself. Thought and action are the jailers of fate. They imprison, being base. They are also the angels of freedom. They liberate, being noble. Not what he wishes and prays for does man get, but what he justly earns. His wishes and prayers are only gratified and answered when they harmonize with his thoughts and actions. Watch this. That's why, man, let this mind be in you that was what? Also in Christ. So because what? We're walking into a thought vibration that now has to act out its life in actuality through our actions. So we want to take on a mind of Christ, right? Because our actions would therefore be Christ-like. Islam, watch this. Not what he wishes and prays for does man get, but what he justly earns. Let's move on. In the light of this truth, what do we say? What then is the meaning of fighting against circumstances? Working against the grain, if you will. It means that a man is continually revolting against an effect while all the time he is nourishing and preserving its cause in his heart. So like you harboring something, right, in your heart. Either it's another evil of someone else or some circumstance that would befall someone else, right? Watch this. And because you're harboring that thing and that seed thought, right, or that thought of that seed that was planted, right, the thought that you were harboring now begins to take shape in your life throughout your ways and actions, even though you wish this on someone else. So we see the pattern, we see the dynamic here. And when people say, "Oh, I want haters. I need haters," or haters are positive. Everyone, you're not doing well if you don't have haters. Well, wait a minute. The hate destroys the hater. So I'm not even in that realm. If that's what you do, that's what you do. You know, hate on the sidelines. I'm not even going to observe you, because listen, that's going to destroy what you're trying to bring forth in your life. What? Those seeds of hate. Come on. I hope we're catching this. Watch this. The cause may take the form of a conscious vice or unconscious weakness, but whatever it is stubbornly retards the effort of its possessor, and thus cause allow for remedy. That's how you saying like that misery love company thing. What happens is those thoughts like gathering together, right? So when you have a certain element in a certain faction, whether it be in a community, whether it be in an organization, a society, or whatever, these thoughts like to congregate together. That's why you see certain people together, because they have similar thought patterns. Watch this. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. Well, it's like you digging your own grave, basically. You won out, oh man, but you harboring things. So would you just steady burying yourself, although your mouth preaches a whole different tune, right? So men are anxious to improve their circumstances. Everybody want to do better. Man, I'm getting it together, maintaining, right? Men are anxious to improve their circumstances. Once you talk to somebody, yeah, man, watch this, but are unwilling to improve themselves. Watch this. They therefore remain bound. The man who does not shrink from self-crucifixion can never fail to accomplish, watch this, the object upon which his heart is set. This is as true of earthly as of heavenly things. Come on here, somebody. Even the man whose sole object is to acquire wealth must be prepared to make great personal sacrifices before he can accomplish his object. And how much more so he who would realize a strong and well poised life. So those circumstances that will bring about the sacrificial activities that one would need to take to reach a certain height, if you will, would bring about a certain character. Because why? The experience developed that, right? Which would ultimately bring about a realization of a strong and well-poised life. Why? Because you done went through the fire. Watch that. Here is a man who is wretchedly poor. Watch this. He is extremely anxious that his surroundings and home comforts should be improved. Yet all the time he shirks his work and considers he is justified in trying to deceive his employer on the ground of the insufficiency of his wages. Slickster, huh? Such a man does not understand the simplest rudiments of those principles which are the basis of true prosperity. What is it? And it is not only totally unfitted, he is, right, to rise out of his wretchedness, but is actually attracting to himself a still deeper wretchedness by dwelling in and acting out indolent, deceptive, and unmanly thoughts. So your wage is not right. They don't really treat others right around here. So you know what? I'm not really going to perform. I'm going to do just enough. And I wish somebody would say something to me. Now watch this seed, this seed planted now in a man's or woman's mind who's thinking like this, doesn't realize, watch this, everything's about to start happening now. You're not really doing anything. What's happening? Yeah, all these other things. Well, what's happening? Yes, you heaping things on yourself, as in this example, that you don't need, in which you're trying to really alleviate. And we're gonna close with this couple of things right here. So here, watch this other example. Is a rich man who is the victim of a painful and persistent disease as the result of gluttony. He is willing to give large sums of money to get rid of it, but he will not sacrifice his gluttonous desires. He wants to gratify, watch this, his lower self, watch this, his taste for rich and unnatural viands and have his health as well. Now, such a man is totally unfit to have health. Why? Because he has not yet learned the first principles of a healthy life. One more example. Here's an employer who, watch this. Here's an employer of labor who adopts crooked measures to avoid paying the regulation wage, and in the hope of making larger profits, reduces the wages of his work people. Such a man is altogether unfitted for prosperity. Why? And when he finds himself bankrupt, both as regards reputation and riches, he blames circumstances, not knowing that he is the sole author of his condition. I'm going to close it out here. It says, I have introduced these three cases merely as illustrative of the truth that man is the cause, right? Though nearly always unconsciously, watch this, of his circumstances, and that whilst aiming at a good end, he is continually frustrating its accomplishment by encouraging thoughts and desires which cannot possibly harmonize with that end. Such cases could be multiplied and varied almost indefinitely, but this is not necessarily as the reader can, if he or she resolves, trace the action of the laws of thought in his own mind and life. And until this is done, mere external facts cannot serve as a ground of reasoning. Circumstances, however, are so complicated, thought is so deeply rooted, and the conditions of happiness vary so vastly with individuals that a man's or woman's entire soul condition, although it may be known to him or herself, cannot be judged by another from external aspects of his life alone. A man or woman may be honest in certain directions, yet suffer privations. A man or woman may be dishonest in certain directions, yet acquire wealth. But the conclusion usually formed that the one man or woman fails because of his particular honesty, and that the other prospers because of his particular dishonesty. Is this the result of superficial judgment, which assumes that the dishonest man is always totally corrupt and the honest man almost entirely virtuous? In the light of a deeper knowledge and wider experience, such judgment is found to be erroneous. The dishonest man may have some admirable virtues which the other does not possess, and the honest man obnoxious vices which are absent in the other. The honest man reaps the good results of his honest thoughts and acts. He also brings upon himself the sufferings which his vices produce. The dishonest man likewise garners his own suffering and happiness. It is pleasing to human vanity to believe that one suffers because of one's virtue, but not until a man has extirpated every sickly, bitter, and impure thought from his mind and washed every sinful stain from his soul, can he be in a position to know and declare that his sufferings are the result of his good and not of his bad qualities. And on the way to that supreme perfection, he will have found, working in his mind and life, the great law, which is absolutely just and which cannot give good for evil, evil for good. Possessed of such knowledge, he will then know, looking back upon his past ignorance and blindness, that his life is and always was justly ordered, and that all his past experiences, good and bad, were the equitable outworking of his evolving, yet unevolved self. Islam, family. Kind of went a little longer than I thought, but as you go back over this video and as you read it by Allah's grace, as the Holy Spirit gives you action to do so, I want us to reevaluate our own thinking and how we deal with certain circumstances, and may take you time to contemplate, meditate on some of the things that are currently transpiring in your life, or some things that you've just made it through, right? And now may take some inventory, right, of those things and what we gained and what those experiences formed in regards to our characteristics that we utilize in our daily activities. Islam. So, man, that was powerful. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate your time that you dedicated to listening to little old me. And I invite you to visit bbtsciencetemple.com. That's bbtsciencetemple.com to learn more about the BBT tribe, Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School, who is under the auspices of the illustrious Sheikh Khari Goodman El Bey. And we invite all true light seekers to come and join unto us, because the truth has no sides. The truth is one, as man is with Allah. And as we do every holy day, by Allah's grace, we bring out some literature and these readings to edify our spirit, to give us food for thought, and to give us a little charge as we go throughout our weekend and, you know, what lies before us, right? So as we are in this series of the subconscious mind, and as a man thinketh and as a woman thinketh, we will continue to delve into our thoughts and continue to encourage each one of us to uplift our thoughts, right? So that we can rise above our conditions and ultimately bring forth what we truly desire. Islam, I want you to visit my pdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z. And you can find a plethora of literature pieces for you and your family, from spiritual to finance to holistic eating to diet to exercise. You know, we try to cover it all, the whole body, mind, and spirit here at the BBT. So we thank you for your ultimate time. And again, we also love to receive love. And that's in the form of financial donation. We also welcome that. Islam. So if you would like to reach out to us, you can find Burning Bush Tabernacle on PayPal, as well as on Venmo. Search up Burning Bush Tabernacle and you will find us there for a love offering as well. And we honestly appreciate that. Islam. So without further ado, we just ventured through As a Man Thinketh, kind of 2 or 3 sections just at the beginning. And if you would like to purchase this literature for a small donation where you receive a tax-exempt receipt as well, contact us at burningbushtabernacle.ts. That's TS, right? Tabernacle of Science, TS at gmail.com. That's burningbushtabernacle.ts at gmail.com. And listen, let me say something. We can't have unity without you and I, and you come first. And it was a plum pleasing pleasure to be in your presence. Until we meet next time, peace and love.
I'm a spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seeds sowing, harvest reaping, man of meager meaning. I have yet.
mypdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z.
Once again, this broadcast has been brought to you by mypdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z, where reading fundamental. Also brought to you by bindedbooks.com, where treasures are bound. Be sure to get all of your teas at My Aunt Son's Teas, the tea of teas, divinely prepared at herbsofmyaunt.com. Be sure to check out all of those musical stylings by Brian Hicks Bey at bhbaymusic.com. For your everyday items and religious regalia, be sure to check out morrishaberdasher.com. And for that everyday especial Morris drip, be sure to check out morsachi.com. And all of these companies are powered by ALO Design Pros. Design your online business strategy today.
No such thing as failure, baby. Don't forget who made you. You can't be thinking mine